YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Sports Culture, and I am back with another video here today, and it is 5 realistic wide receiver prospects for the Green Bay Packers in the 2025 NFL Draft class. And if you're interested in videos like this and want to see some for edge rushers and cornerbacks in this year's draft class, I have made both those videos already on my YouTube channel, so I will leave the links right here on top of your screen or in the description. Or if you simply want to go click on my YouTube channel and go look for those videos yourselves, go ahead and do so. But like I said, this is going to be 5 realistic wide receiver prospects. So anybody with first round buzz like Luther Burden or Mecca or T-Mac or Travis Hunter are not going to be on this list. And I think this is a very underrated wide receiver class. I don't think there's, compared to last year, a lot of talent or a lot of big names, but I think this is a very, deep wide receiver class. I don't think a lot of these guys are getting enough recognition. I think most of these guys have been very productive at the collegiate level, and a lot of these guys are athletic, big body wide receivers that offer a lot of upside at the next level. So without further ado, man, let's get right into this. First wide receiver prospect on this list is Trey Harris, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, and I'm a huge fan of Trey Harris. I don't think he's getting enough buzz in this year's draft class. I think his ceiling, and I think he's as talented as some of the top 3 wide receivers in this year's draft class. I'm not saying he's as good, but I think his ceiling and his talent level is as high as those guys. At 6'2", 210 pounds, and only 8 games. Let me put that again. 8 games this year. He had 60 receptions, 1,030 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Right now, at the collegiate level and what I see on film, he only solely uses the vertical route stem tree. And I think at the next level, if he wants to be a bona fide wide receiver 1 at the next level, obviously he's going to have to expand on that and put some more routes in his route tree. But at the collegiate level, he was able to be, a one-trick pony per se with the vertical route stem tree and only getting downfield and using his big body. If you go onto YouTube or anything right now and look up his highlights, the one thing you will notice right off the bat is he's a very long strider. He gets down the field in a hurry. Maybe not the fastest guy, but he gets to his top speed in a very, very fast, manner. And he gets down the field, but the one thing you will notice is his ability to high point the football and showcase some incredible, elite, strong hands. His highlight reel is nothing but acrobatic catches in contested catch situations, and one-handed catches. I think he has a lot of upside after the catch. Ole Miss did a lot of like bubble screens and just quick screens right off the bat, right off the snap to Trey Harris, and he would make guys miss. He's very agile for a guy 6'2", 210 pounds. Like I said, I don't think he's the quickest guy by any means, but he gets to that top speed very fast because he has long strides and very long arms, which helps him get down the football field. And, I think outside of T-Mac and Jayden Higgins in this year's draft class, this guy has some of the best hands in this year's draft class. They are very, very legit. And I've seen one guy even says his hands are the second coming of Odell Beckham, one scout. So that's good, I guess, if you want to hear that. Like I said, the guy is very, very talented. I think there's more to a lot in his game in terms of route running. I don't think he's ever going to be like the best at breaking in and out of routes because he's 6'2", 210 pounds. And not really necessarily the most fluid in his hips, but there's a lot to like about him. I think, in terms of catching the football, which we need, the Packers need. We led the NFL in drop catches. Or, drop passes, I should say. I butchered that. We need a guy like Trey Harris because this guy is a safety blanket. He is a bona fide wide receiver 1 at the next level, in my opinion. And he's somebody that when you throw the ball on his premises, it's an 80-20% chance that he comes down with it. So Trey Harris, I think one of the most underrated prospects in this year's draft class. I thought at the beginning of the year he was getting a lot of buzz, but I feel like it's kind of died down. And I think this guy, if the Packers could get him in the second round, this is a guy with a ton of upside. Next wide receiver prospect on this list is Bech, the wide receiver out of TCU. And this guy was constantly being talked about. The Senior Bowl, was constantly winning on the one-on-ones. And he's a converted tight end to wide receiver, 6'1", 218 pounds, big body, physical wide receiver that offers versatility not only on the outside with his big body, but also in the inside. And everybody's comparing him to Puka Nacua, and I can definitely see why, because him and Puka, those big body wide receivers that offer the versatility inside and out, but can run every route. And they're just those guys that if you put the ball near the perimeters, they're going to box the cornerback out or the safety or whoever's guarding them and go up and make a catch. This year in 2024, he had 62 receptions for 1,034 yards and 9 touchdowns. Before I get to the good, I will start with the bad because, in my opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of Bech for this Packers team. Like I said, converted tight end to wide receiver. There's nothing wrong with that. But Bech doesn't necessarily offer the greatest speed. I just don't think he's a great separator, especially when I watch the film. I thought at the collegiate level he separated okay. But at the next level in the NFL, man, guys are more athletic. Guys are more physical. Guys are not going to just be At the collegiate level, I look at times like Jack Bech was just more physical, just bigger than cornerbacks, even though he was only a 6 foot, wide receiver. At the next level, guys are going to be as physical as you. They're going to be even more athletic, and you're playing against a lot of veteran cornerbacks that are not going to get out of place. I don't think Jack Bech necessarily runs the greatest routes. I think he could run almost every route in the route tree, but I don't think he necessarily sells routes that great. I don't think he's the best at breaking in and out of his routes. He's not going to have the greatest speed at doing so. I just don't think he's going to be a great vertical threat. I mean, there's no surprise by that by any means, but I don't think he's going to be a great vertical threat at the next level. I don't think he's going to be a guy the defense is going to have to worry about necessarily because of his speed. And I don't think throwing 50-50 balls to wide receivers is a high percentage throw. And I think at the next level, that's where Jack Bech is going to be. He's not going to be a guy that separates that well. I think he's going to be a guy that offers a lot of versatility inside and out. And I'd like to see him a lot at the next level play inside, because I think just because of his physicality and his athleticism, I'm not saying he's not an athletic guy. He's pretty athletic, but with his physicality and his athleticism, him in the slot at wide receiver a lot would be a physical nightmare for most of those slot cornerbacks. And I think that's where he dominates the most. I think outside with these big physical outside cornerbacks, there could be a bit of a problem with him separating and getting on the outside and stacking these cornerbacks. But there's a lot to like about Jack Bech. He's a dog. He's not someone that's going to make guys miss, but when you give him the football, he's going to put his shoulder down and he's going to fight for every yard. And that's why I like him. He's a dog. He has that, that mindset where if the ball's in his premises, he's going to come down to catch it. He's phenomenal at boxing out cornerbacks and making catches. He has very strong and natural hands. He's a savvy route runner. I do think he's solid enough to break guys at the next level. I don't think he's maybe going to get the best separation, like I said, but you never know. So Jack Bech, wide receiver from TCU, there is a lot to like about him, but me personally, I'm not the biggest fan for him for this Packers team, just because the Packers struggle statistically, and not even statistically, if you just watch the games, the Packers struggled at the wide receiver position, separating, and I don't think Jack Bech is going to be a great separator at the next level. Next prospect on this list is one of my favorite, and I know a lot of Packers fans' favorite, is Jalen Royals, the wide receiver out of Utah State. And this guy reminds me just like Jayden Reed, just bigger, more physical, thicker per se. There's a lot to like about Jalen Royals, and maybe I'm one of the guys that are more higher on Jalen Royals. I've been roasted for saying this before, but I think his floor is Jayden Reed, which is not bad at all. Jayden Reed is a phenomenal player, and Jayden Reed is still developing. He could get even better. I think this guy's ceiling is a less explosive, less dynamic Jamar Chase. Don't come after me for saying that, but the reason I say that is because Jalen Royals offers a lot after the catch. He's very good getting down the field. I mean, the dude's going to run like a 4.3, at most a 4.4 at the combine. He's very, very explosive. He has a track record. He's known for track, played football, this, that. I mean, the guy is a vertical runner. I think that's what he kind of needs to work at the next level. He solely only relies on vertical stem routes, but he's going to expand because, I mean, the dude has very good feet. He's very quick off the line. I like his releases off the line. He knows how to set up defenders. He has phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal body control. And people don't realize how much that matters as a wide receiver, because if you could just set up a wide receiver, not even by using your legs and not even by using your arms, but by using your body in a mannerism, by just simply swaying it one way, you're going to win a lot. And he has great body control in that sense when he's running routes. So he can sway his body and sell double routes. He has great body control when it comes to high pointing the football. He has great natural hands. Like I said, after the catch, he offers a lot. Getting down the field, showing his vertical ability, he offers a lot. But the reason I like him a lot, he's 5'11", 6 foot, but he jumps out the gym. He plays way bigger than that, just like Jayden Reed does. There's a lot to like about Jalen Royals. I'm a huge fan of Jalen Royals. Maybe not as productive as some of these other guys on this list, only having 55 receptions for 839 yards and 6 touchdowns. And maybe not having the most experience against elite competition per se, only playing 1 year at a Power 5 school, but I necessarily don't care. I think when you turn on the film, you see what you like. Even on possessions where he doesn't get the ball, or even on plays where he doesn't get the ball, you see how he's able to work guys off the line very quickly, get open, and just make himself available. I think he's very smart when it comes to zone coverage. I think he's able to diagnose and see what the defense is doing and sits in a hole. And he's just a smart safety blanket. I like what he offers after the catch, obviously, like I said multiple times. And like I said, his floor to me is a more more physical Jayden Reed, more bigger, thicker Jayden Reed per se, and his ceiling to me is less explosive, less dynamic Jamar Chase, which is a phenomenal ceiling. So Jalen Royals, I'm a huge fan of, and I know a lot of Packer fans are. And I would be stoked to get this guy on this team because he offers a ton of versatility, not just playing outside at the wide receiver position, but also playing inside. And he could be a nightmare matchup for a lot of these slot cornerbacks. The next prospect on this list is Jayden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. And he is my personal favorite wide receiver prospect in this year's draft class. The dude is 6'3", 213 pounds. He's going to be a prototypical outside wide receiver at the next level. And the one thing that separates him a lot from these other big body, athletic, physical, just throw it up in my premises, 50-50 ball wide receivers in this year's draft class is his ability to separate and run routes. I think this guy can run every route in the route tree, and I still think he's getting better and developing in terms of that aspect. He's very good off the line in terms of releases. He can beat you with his feet. He has very quick and sudden feet, but he could also just simply out-muscle you and use his hands and just push you off of him off the release. He's very good at high-pointing the football, getting down the field, and using his strong, secure, reliable hands. I think outside of T-Mac in this year's draft class, Jayden Higgins has the best hands. This dude is very, very good at using his hands, high-pointing the football, boxing out cornerbacks, and just making the catch. And I think that's what we need, man. The Packers need somebody that's reliable in that aspect, the 50-50 balls, and somebody you could just throw the ball up to, and I think Jayden Higgins is that guy. But besides the point, man, I think his route running ability is what really separates him from some of these other guys on this list. He gives you a lot of versatility outside and inside because of his route running ability. He's not maybe the quickest guy in the world, but I do think he's very quick. But he gets to his top speed very, very fast. I think he's fluid enough for a guy that's 6'3" in his hips to run and break break cornerbacks with his route running ability. And the sky's the limit. He's only going to get better. I think his ceiling is a wide receiver 1. His floor is like a low-end wide receiver 2. And the thing that kind of makes me a huge fan of him is because we have another number 9 in Green Bay in Christian Watson, who is way more dynamic, explosive, and athletic than Jayden Higgins, in my opinion. But the thing that separates Jayden Higgins and Christian Watson is Christian Watson doesn't necessarily know how to run routes yet. He doesn't break the greatest, but Jayden Higgins, for him being less athletic, being less explosive, being less dynamic per se in terms of speed, he is a way better route runner. He understands how to set cornerbacks up with leverage, how to stack them better, and he knows how to simply sit in zone coverage. This guy's a very smart wide receiver, and he's a safety blanket, man. There's not much to say about a guy like him. He's just a safety blanket. He's a do-it-all wide receiver. He kind of reminds me a lot like Michael Pittman, and Michael Pittman's a phenomenal wide receiver as well. So Jayden Higgins, my personal favorite wide receiver in this year's draft class. I would be super stoked to get this guy. I think he's only going to rise, and I really wouldn't be surprised if he got drafted in the first round after the combine. And the final wide receiver prospect on this list is Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. And the reason I left him last on this list is because I think he has the lowest chance, or the Packers have the lowest chance of drafting him. I think this is someone who's going to only rise as the draft gets closer, especially once he kills at the combine. A lot of scouts are saying he's very reminiscent of Stephon Diggs, and I definitely see that. This guy is very good at running routes. He's very route savvy, very good off the line, and he's just one of those natural hands catchers at the wide receiver position, man. Just like Stephon Diggs. I mean, this guy just has very strong physical hands that, I wouldn't say physical, but just very strong hands that just, when he high points the football and he gets up there, he's coming down with it. Only 6 foot, 195 pounds, and maybe not the biggest dude on this list by any means, but I mean, he jumps out of the building. He plays way bigger than 6 foot. And if you watch this Texas team, if you're into college football, I mean, you see how much this guy stepped up towards the end of the year. He was definitely the number 1 target for this team, the number 1 player for this team, in my opinion, on the offensive side of the ball. He was the go-to guy, and I'm a huge fan of Matthew Golden. I think this is someone who's definitely only going to rise more as the draft gets closer. I think this is someone who could definitely get drafted inside I'd say the first 20 picks. I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked at pick 20 and before that. I just think he's that good. I think at the next level, he's going to be a very solid wide receiver 1 for one of these NFL teams. And like I said, a lot of people are saying he's very reminiscent of Stephon Diggs, and I definitely see that because both these guys are very, route savvy wide receivers. Both these guys are very good off the line of scrimmage. Both of them are very, good with the ball in their hands. They're able to make guys miss, able to get some yards after they catch the football. But both these guys, Stephon Diggs and Matthew Golden, have very strong hands for not being the biggest wide receivers per se in the world. And they just explode and show when you're watching them, man. Matthew Golden just popped out when I watched him on film. I'm a huge fan of Matthew Golden. If the Packers got this guy, man, I'd be completely shocked, but I'd be completely stoked because I think this is a guy who's going to be a bona fide wide receiver one in the NFL. And I think he could have a Brian Thomas Jr. type of season, you know. And I'm not saying he could be as good as Brian Thomas Jr. by any means, but Brian Thomas Jr. wasn't being talked about as, you know, a guy that's going to lead the rookie wide receivers in receiving yards before the season started. Everybody was saying it was going to be Martin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, even Rome Odunze or some other guys. No one was really throwing Brian Thomas Jr. into that category. I think Matthew Golden in his first year could lead all the rookie wide receivers in receiving yards and really be a good wide receiver one or just a really good player on an offensive scheme for one of these NFL teams. And that's going to go ahead and wrap up the video. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to watch those other 2 separate videos for the top 5 realistic cornerback prospects for the Packers and the top 5 realistic edge rush prospects for the Packers, I will leave the link or the video somewhere on your screen right here or in the description. Or if you simply want to click onto my YouTube profile icon and go look for the videos yourself, you can go ahead and do so. If you want to see more content like this, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. That just means a lot to me, and it shows that you guys like the content and are engaging with it. But that's going to wrap it up. I'm out.